Hello everybody, it's time for a second thrilling instalment of Biology from the Bedroom with me, Benito Wainwright. Yes, that's right, another week of unprecedented self-isolation has passed us by. Just like that! Where did the time go, eh? Well, enough of that, because it's time to get serious and put some more postgraduate prey through their biological paces as we get even closer to finding Britain's most promising research scientist. Today's guest is definitely a true contender to take that crown. She's recently been described as the lady who officially proved Darwin's idea of survival of the fittest, and her research has even caught the interest of Richard Dawkins himself. I mean, I'm sure Darwin would have also been quite interested, but of course he died 138 years ago. Her name is Laura van Holstein, an evolutionary biologist from the University of Cambridge. She began her career by studying biological anthropology before embarking on a PhD where she's using phylogenetic comparative methods to better understand the link between microevolution and macroevolution in mammals. Now, I don't know about you, but this all seems like an excuse to bamboozle people with big words during a self-isolation Skype dinner party. So I think Laura has got some explaining to do. So, without further ado, let's beam potential science leader of the future, Laura van Holstein, into my bedroom. Hello, Laura.
Hi, Benito. What a nice bedroom you have.
Thank you. It's very nice, isn't it? So, how are you coping with self-isolation so far?
I'd say rather well, actually. I mean, for me, the only real difference is that I can not wear trousers when I speak to people because it's all from the waist up. Yeah.
So, if you were to summarise this whole COVID-19 pandemic lockdown situation that we're in at the moment, how would you describe it in one word, Laura?
Well, if I had to pick a random word, I'd have to say unprecedented.
Unprecedented, I completely agree. You know, it's very unprecedented, isn't it? Yes, yes. Now, you did your first degree in biological anthropology, and then in your final year, I hear that you did some work on Denisovan ancient DNA. Now, first of all, do you want to explain what a Denisovan is and what their sex lives was like, because that seems to be something that you investigated.
Yeah, very adventurous. So it's a species of hominin. So hominin is basically everything in the lineage that leads up to us, everything since the split with chimpanzees that leads up to us. And the Denisovans or Denisovans, they're a very weird species because we only really know about them as a separate species because of a finger bone. So some researchers found a hominin finger bone in deepest, darkest Siberia and tried to sequence DNA from it and realized this is a different thing to both humans and Neanderthals, but it's related to both of these species.
I do love a cheeky finger from a Denisovan. You can learn an awful lot.
Yeah, well, clearly I do too.
Yeah.
And their sex lives, very, very strange. Everything that looked like a human, they clearly had interest in.
Goodness me.
But it's a sort of, a Jeremy Kyle sort of situation in the upper Paleolithic.
Imagine having a series of Love Islands back then, you know, things would have just been absolutely crazy.
It would have been very, very good reality TV.
Not another opportunity missed. Anyway, never mind. I mean, I guess some of the contestants that you see on Love Island remind you a little bit of ancient hominins, but anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. Hence the comparison with Jeremy Kyle as well.
Absolutely right, please. Right, so that has kind of led you into the topic of your PhD then, I suppose.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
So do you want to tell us about what that is all about?
Yeah, so actually, I always avoid this question at sort of, I want to say, quote-unquote, real dinner parties.
Yes, it's a difficult question, isn't it? Because you never know how much detail to go into.
For me, it was also difficult because my supervisor and I we like exploring old questions that people might have sort of thought of as, well, we probably won't be able to ever really answer with the current methods, but kind of explore them from a different angle or just use a different kind of approach to explore them. But the real link between all of the things that I'm looking at is to, like you say, link the micro with the macro and then apply that, and this is where the sort of biological anthropology comes in, apply that to basically the question of why humans are so weird.
Yes, because one of the weird things is that there are so many extinct species of hominin, aren't there? But when you look at related genera, there aren't that many extinct species.
No, that's right. And actually, so if you look at our sort of sister genus, so it's Pan, which is the chimpanzees and the bonobos, we have pretty much no fossil evidence from that lineage, and that could be because they live in more forested areas, and maybe there's a kind of a bias there, so we're just not finding the fossils because we don't have access to them. But it is certainly a very strange thing that we have so many extinct, like you say, so many extinct hominins, and then we've only ended up with one, and then we have 2 extant species of Pan, and almost no fossils. So there's this weird reversal. Trying to understand why that is something that I'm very interested in.
On that topic, of course, the main exciting piece of news recently is that you've had a paper out in Proceedings of the Royal Society, and this has caused a huge impact across the scientific and the general public, hasn't it? It's been absolutely crazy. People, articles saying that you've finally proved after all these years, you've proved Darwin's theory of evolution. Richard Dawkins has got involved. ITV News has got involved. How are you coping with this? Well, can you first probably explain to us what did you prove?
So I did. First of all, I'm gonna have to be a huge buzzkill and say I didn't prove anything.
Right.
I guess a metaphor would be, I took a tiny gear in the engine of the car that is evolution and looked in more detail at it. And this tiny gear, or this tiny piece of the engine, a tiny piece in Darwin's bigger theory, I showed that there is evidence that his hypothesis is correct, at least in mammals. And what that hypothesis was so if you have a genus A, and it has 50 species, and genus B that has 2 species, we would expect, or Darwin expected, that a random species in genus A would have more subspecies. So if you're producing subspecies at a higher rate, you would then expect that you're producing species at a higher rate as well, given enough time.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Very much makes sense. Yeah. Very interesting. Okay. So it's very much dependent on the ecology and the habitats which these species live in, I suppose, because they all provide their own different constraints as to how these different species will evolve.
Well, you could have written the paper, Benito.
Oh, well, there's another opportunity missed. Don't say that now. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. But of course, this recent newsflash of you proving Darwin's theory has also created a lot of controversy, I guess, amongst non-believers of evolution. Yeah. Do you want to tell us about some of the weird things that you've received?
So on Instagram, people have sort of taken it upon themselves to either find my email, so they see that Dawkins he posted the phys-anth summary of the paper. People then took it upon themselves to find the actual proceedings paper, find the author's the corresponding author's email, which is my email, and then email me about why I was wrong. So there you go. Yeah. So they my Instagram and my Twitter as well. People are very angry that I said that humans have no subspecies, which is gets into the darker history of my initial field, biological anthropology.
Yeah. And in fact, people have been getting in touch with us, Laura, asking you about your work. People who are slightly unsure. We've got Karen from Peterborough, and she says she's found a chink in your armour, unfortunately. I'd like to be quite interested to hear what you've got to say to this, actually. Karen from Peterborough says, no, evolution is not true. All right? Prepare yourself. Hummingbirds have existed for thousands of years and they still haven't learnt the words. Explain that?
No, and this is very, actually, Karen, if you could get in touch with me directly, I'd like to have you around to practice for my Viva, because I'm expecting something like... Is this reviewer 2, by the way, Karen?
No, I didn't think so, to you, let's be honest. But anyway, as well as talking about your research, Laura, we're also quite interested in biology from the bedroom to talk about, well, firstly, how COVID-19 is affecting your research, but also other times where things haven't quite gone to plan and a slight mistake has made you look and feel like a total fool, basically, which is, I'm sure, is something which a lot of postgraduate researchers can relate to. You say, actually, that COVID-19 isn't really affecting the way you work at the moment. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, so I think I'm one of the very few lucky ones that, my research at this point, it's a lot of modelling, it's a lot of post hoc stuff, and actually it's writing up. Most of my days is just writing up a paper that I'm working on at the moment, and in general the thesis. So it's actually quite good, I guess, to not have distractions, or that many distractions.
Well, that's not something which a struggling postgraduate biologist wants to hear, Laura. So we'll just skip over that, okay? We'll just skip over that. So instead, tell us about a time when you've made an absolute fool of yourself.
Honestly, I find it really hard to answer that question.
Oh, no, come on.
All the time. No, it's all the time. It's sort of, you should ask the opposite question, when do you not feel stupid? Because, no, but I think it's a good thing to realise that you don't know everything. I mean, actually, yesterday, so my boyfriend and I went for a walk for our one state-sanctioned stroll, as I like to call it.
Yes.
We got really lucky and we found a warren. And there was loads of rabbit skeletons everywhere, like bits you wouldn't normally find. Well, bits that we got excited about because in excavations you wouldn't find them, things like vertebrae and sort of more fragile parts of the skeleton. So we got really excited, and there's bird bits and fragmented bits of really, really cool stuff. And I'm not as good as him at identifying fragments, so I got really confused about one thing. This, by the way, this is going to be the most boring story ever, but I kept...
You don't say.
Yeah. Just kept misidentifying everything. So yeah. So I just felt stupid the whole day, pretty much. I thought a scapula was a piece of the jawbone. I mean, it's all rabbit crap. Sorry, I'm not allowed to swear. Am I? Rabbit stuff.
Please, so you mistook a scapula for a what?
Jaw.
A scapula for a jaw. Bloody hell, Laura, you are an idiot.
Can I just say a fragment? Yeah.
Anyway, well, talking of embarrassment, also on Biology from the Bedroom, we want to put our guests through their paces. As you know, we're on the mission to find Britain's most promising research biologist. Last time, Harry Layfield undertook the Cryptic question clock quiz and proved himself to not be an expert in his lay field. See what I did there? He scored 5 points. So it's time to see whether Laura van Holstein can do any better. It's time for you to face the Cryptic question clock quiz.
Oh, cryptic question, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Cryptic question, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Cryptic question, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?
So, Laura, this is a section of the show where we get our guest to answer as many questions on biology in 60 seconds as they possibly can. But there is an added twist, and that is the cryptic question.
Oh, cryptic question, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Cryptic question, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Cryptic question, what's it gonna be?
So one of the answers to the questions I'm about to ask is also an answer to a question in a non-biological related area. And today, that non-biological related area is award winners. If you are able to spot the cryptic question, you must let me know before you give your answer by using your signature buzzer. Your buzzer, Laura, shall be the sound Richard Dawkins would make after bumping into Charles Darwin in Marks and Spencer's. Okay? Laura, can you give us an indication on what that might sound like?
Oh!
Thank you very much. Laura, are you ready to face the cryptic question clock quiz?
The honest answer is no, but yeah.
Your time starts now. Can you please spell the word leaf?
L-E-A-F.
Correct. Haploid male gametes which fertilise female eggs are known by what name?
Sperm.
Plant transport systems consist of the xylem and what other sugar transporting vessel?
Phloem.
Correct. Maintenance of a constant internal environment in biology is referred to as what?
Homeostasis?
Correct. The variable which the scientists manipulate in an experiment is known as what kind of variable?
Independent.
Correct. In aerobic respiration, what is the citric acid cycle also known as?
Krebs?
Correct. The process by which organisms can generate their own light is known by what name?
Don't know. Pass.
Bioluminescence. Diatoms, dinoflagellates and coccolithophores are all types of what kind of organism?
I don't know. No idea. No, skip it.
It was algae.
Oh,
Never
no.
mind. Overall, pretty good though, Laura. At the end of that, you've got 6 points, which means you're currently in the lead in the Cryptic Question Clock quiz. Unfortunately, you weren't able to spot the cryptic question about award winners. The 5th question I asked Laura was, what variable is the one that scientists manipulate in an experiment? And you said...
Independent.
Independent. Now, the Independent newspaper was awarded National Newspaper of the Year in the year 2003. Unfortunately, you didn't get that. But the quiz isn't over yet. Right, so, you see, before we all went into lockdown, I managed to sneak in to Oxford's biology department and managed to steal one of the organisms that you would commonly find there. Okay? So, Laura, just by listening to this audio clip, can you identify which organism that is just by the sound of me hitting it with the 3rd edition of The Origin of Species? Play the audio, please.
Oh.
Any idea?
That's clearly a Neanderthal.
A Neanderthal. Is that your final answer?
That is my final answer.
Unfortunately, that's incorrect. The correct answer was Richard Dawkins.
No,
Never mind.
Of course.
It would have been obvious if you heard what he said afterwards.
What kind of a horrible, depraved notion is that?
Anyway, so we're getting to the end of the show. I think it's about time we spoke about your other interests, of course. And I hear that you've got quite a fondness for guinea pigs. Is that right?
That's very, very true.
What is it about guinea pigs that you like so much?
I've always liked them because they look like potatoes and they talk back. So it's not like a rabbit that's sort of a mute, cute thing. It's cute but boring. Guinea pigs talk back.
Interesting. And what do they say when they talk back?
Oh, I can't repeat that on a child-friendly show.
Okay, right. Okay. Well, on that note, we've got to end the show. But, Laura, if you had one song which we could finish the show on, what would it be and why?
Given that I'm a scholar of human evolution, it's going to have to be Africa by Toto.
Africa by Toto. Does that song really resonate with you?
Yes.
Unfortunately, we don't have copyright permission to that song at the moment.
Oh.
No, I'm sorry. The only song which we had copyright permission to this week was I'm Like a Bird by Nelly Furtado, unfortunately.
Oh.
But all is not lost, because do you want to try singing Africa by Toto to this non-copyrighted audio music, please?
I hear the drums echoing. Gonna take a lot to drag me away from you.
Thank you very, very much, Laura,
You're
for
very
coming
welcome.
on Biology from the Bedroom. And good luck with the rest of your research.
Thank you very much. You too.
Thank you. Join me next time when I'll be inviting yet another perilous PhD student into my humble bedroom. If you like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe for more science and wildlife related content. But now, if you don't mind, I have to take Richard Dawkins to A&E. See you next time, everybody!